Hi, this is Teresa from Closeted Creatives Coaching, and I'm so thrilled to share this video with you. I want to invite you to take advantage of the 7-day Self-Love Summit that's coming up starting February 12th. And I want to just start by sharing a little bit of the backstory of how it all came to be and what inspired it. So first of all, I was laying on the massage table 2 weeks ago and had this idea of I want to do a self-love summit. And so I followed the inspiration and it all really flowed together very quickly. So I took that as some, what's the right word, evidence that this is important. So we're going to do it. And within a day, I had 5 interviews lined up. And within a short time after that, I had 8. I believe it was 5 days later, I had a full 8 interviews. So it very quickly came together, and then I started gathering all of the fun resources around audios and videos that really support the self-love work, books, practices, etc. So it's a really juicy package of information, and that's why I call it 7 days and more than 100 ways to love yourself more, because you are just going to be blown away by the amount of greatness that's available to you, and I hope you take advantage. But more than that moment on the massage table, which is fabulous enough, is really the journey that I've been on for the past 8 years to cultivate my own self-love and to really create a life that matters a lot to me. And my work about helping people become vibrant, imaginative, and unforgettable is all about radiating more heart light. And so I feel like this journey of self-love is just mission critical to anyone who wants to be more creative, more passionate, have more joy and more of themselves in their life, more authenticity, and really consciously making choices that create a life that you truly matters to you and really helps you show up in the world in your unique way. And I talk about it sort of like you want to create a life as unique as your fingerprint. There's not going to be anyone else like you. Not anyone else living like you, not anyone else loving like you, etc. So this journey that I've been on came to a sort of culmination shortly before the solstice. So back in December, around the 18th or 19th, I had an experience, and I've had a sordid tale with love relationships in my life. They haven't been always the best for me. And so I had an opportunity to reconnect with someone who we had tried being in a relationship, and he was really only interested in the physical aspect of the relationship. He didn't want to know my heart. He didn't really want to be serious about anything. And it just, to me, wasn't really a good fit because I'm built for deep and wide relationships. I care deeply for the people in my life. So that wasn't working for us. And yet, here it was the holidays. It's been 8 years from my divorce, and I sort of was feeling lonely and wanting a connection. And so I could have easily reconnected with this person that really was not good for my heart. And it was very tempting. I had cravings and longings to be in relationship, even though I knew the connection was not a good one for me. And so fortunately, in that moment, I had some things from the coach I was working with and a book I was reading called Whatever Arises, Love That, to support me in moving to a new level of energy for myself in that moment, instead of getting tricked into looking outside of myself and doing something that would maybe in a moment meet a need, but long-term leave me feeling more empty than when I started. So I knew this practice, and it was simple. It sounds simple, but it's profound. Just holding my hand on my heart and saying, I love you over and over again, and imagining that my soul has me. So knowing that my soul has me. And so that's what I did. I did it for about 3 hours straight. It was like an I love you marathon. And, at first I felt a little foolish, but I noticed after about an hour and a half of just deeply over and over again saying, I love you, really holding myself, imagining that my soul had me, that the longing and the craving, the sort of urgency to be connected with someone no matter what right then started to dissolve. And in its place, sort of this upwelling of love happened. And I felt a deep cherishing and loving of myself, and sort of what I consider the divine masculine energy rose up in me, in that I felt this desire to protect myself and just cherish my heart and care deeply and provide for and create safety and structure and all of these things that I'd always sought in the male energy outside of me and never really felt or experienced. So I'd never really had it reflected back before. And I'd certainly never felt it within myself. So I had this upwelling of that experience. And it's really stuck with me. And I make decisions now sort of based on, like, oh, my car needs to be washed. I'm going to imagine that my beloved did that for me. It's like that part of me inside that's like, I'm going to wash your car for you so that your car's ready to go. It's full of gas. Everything's taken care of. And then I started noticing it showing up in my external world. So these choices I'm making internally and this practice that I'm cultivating to value and respect myself and treat myself with the sort of beloved energy of a divine masculine is showing up now externally. So a couple weeks after this experience, my family gathered for Christmas holiday. And we have this tradition, my siblings and I, that we gather as just couples and go out and have a dinner together. And it's challenging being the only single person. I have 7 siblings, 6 were there with their spouses, and so it's challenging to be the only single one. I'm also the only one really who at this point doesn't have children. My youngest sister doesn't yet, but she still has plenty of time for that to happen. And I'm sort of in a place where I'm getting to the age where that may not happen for me in this lifetime. So there's always this sort of combination of I don't have a family and I don't have a special someone. And I'm joining these people who have both. So I adore them. They are my siblings. And there are sort of these things that we know about each other that only siblings know. You know, you kind of grow up together and have these unique experiences. And so there's a special bond between all of us. Well, my brothers showed up in a really, really interesting way that night, or at least I was drawn to notice it. And one of my brothers drove, which was just a lovely kind of divine masculine thing of I got to be a passenger and just not worry about how I was going to get there and where to park and etc. So I had a ride, and another brother bought my meal, and another, shared appetizers with me, and all of them sort of in their own little way just showed me some of that divine masculine energy of how much support I had and how tenderly I was being held in that moment. And another, the same brother that bought me dinner, there's always a tradition of taking couple pictures, which again is just challenging for me personally. And he just reached over and put his arm around me, and we had our little couple picture. So it was nice to be, again, just held and nurtured in that way. And then shortly after that, a couple weeks later, I just had a moment where I was just having one of those meltdowns, like, what is this life all about? It's so crappy. It's so challenging. I'm really struggling. And I was meeting my friend Joel for some work we're doing together for a project. And here we are at a coffee shop doing this work. And he just reaches over and gives me a hug and tells me as he's doing it, I'm going to hang on to you for a while, like kind of a warning. And he held me for a long time, and it was precious. We are not intimately connected. He's my girlfriend's boyfriend, but it was sort of a very tender masculine moment. So there have been several of them in the past month since I had my experience of sort of becoming my own beloved. And so the reason I feel passionate about doing the Self-Love Summit is no matter what. So it's not like I'm not seeking a divine life partner, because you bet I am. And at the same time, without having the connection internally, being in alignment with our own internal beloved, we are not going to attract the kind of love experiences that we want. We're going to attract things that are less than what we desire. So I invite you to spend the week of Valentine's Day cultivating deeper levels of self-love for you. And of course, when you do that, it will impact everyone in your world around you. So your relationships will be more meaningful. You will attract better opportunities, etc., etc. It starts with building the self-love within yourself. And I realize that not everyone sees sort of I'm trying to think of the right words, like it can feel like a fluffy topic. Oh, self-love, that's sweet. It's so nice. It works for some people, but I have things I need to accomplish. Well, self-love has a very high vibration. And when you are in alignment with self-love, everything in your external world will show up very differently for you. So it is not a fluffy topic. It's a practice. It's something that requires daily vigilance and attention. And it's so mission critical. So that's sort of my backstory to just help you understand a little bit why I'm so passionate and excited about this topic. And I wanted to share just snippets of the interviews coming up so you have a little flavor. So I already did one interview and I'm so excited about it because it was just like the first one and it was so amazing. So we have a coach who's also a wisdom worker and just really able to look at the world from a very big perspective around consciousness. So she's the first person I interviewed, and it was such a lovely connection. Then I have the person that I work with on my style and branding who really helps you connect with your deepest inner authentic self and radically express that in the world. And so you can see things like my funky scarf and this lovely jacket from France. And then, yes, I love fairies, so I found these fabulous fairy earrings on Etsy. And so she has just helped me more and more come to a place of self-love and acceptance, and then express that through how I show up in the world, through clothing. I also have an amazing artist who is her work is so deeply feeling centered, and she expresses it so beautifully, and her stories around really cultivating the journey of the self and expressing it creatively and how that really nurtures and supports is so wonderful. So I can't wait for that interview, as well as an author who wrote about her own journey with PTSD and how self-love has been a part of that journey. And others, one of the others is a counselor, so he's going to bring the male perspective because he really, again, he's a very highly creative guy, but he so sees the male perspective and really talks to the connection of that sort of divine masculine energy. And then I have another counselor who works with folks on eating, but specifically she focuses less on the whole eating holistically and nutritionally and more on learning how to meet the unmet needs consciously so that the food and the weight and all of that sort of take care of themselves. So I'm super excited about that. And then I have someone who works with divorce support groups and does amazing work with women around sort of reclaiming and rediscovering themselves as they're working through the divorce process. And I'm personally connected with her amazing work. And then I think I'm probably missing someone, but also I have someone who is an expert on money and feminine magnetism and really learning how to receive and cultivate a positive relationship with money and men and really anything you want in your life. So that's just a little flavor. I'm not going to give you any more, but of just some of the incredible people that have showed up in this space and time to share their experience with you and their amazing work as artists, coaches, counselors, authors, people who are out there doing big work in the world. So I'm thrilled with the lineup. And as I mentioned earlier in the video, there are going to be practices, self-love practices, books, audios, visuals, several things to support you daily in deepening your connection with yourself. So I invite you to register for this fabulous summit, to dedicate the time every day to listen to a 40-minute interview that's going to give you a wealth of information, inspiration, insight, excitement, I hope, to really take your journey deeper. So thank you for being here today and listening to this video. And I wish you February, the month of love, all the love that you can handle, and then so much more. Blessings on your journey.